Welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with investingnews.com. I'm speaking with Steve Robertson, president of Prismo Metals. Hi, Steve.
Good morning.
Morning. So let's talk about copper. All indications are saying that copper will continue to increase in demand, and the prices have been strong due to the green energy transition. So how do you see this trend evolving in the next near term and over the next 5 years, and what role does Prismo Metals have in this dynamic?
Well, I really think that this is the tipping point for a new time. The experts, people that know a lot more about this than me, have been predicting 2025 for a long time to be a transition to where we've really got a supply crunch. There's just not going to be enough copper around. And so that's going to put a lot of demand on copper exploration and copper production. We are seeing all sorts of signs for that. The TCRCs with the smelters right now are negative. We haven't seen that in a long time. So the smelters are actually paying companies to deliver concentrate to them instead of charging them. And that just means it's a pretty clear indicator that there's a shortage of concentrate around. You think, well, maybe there's too much smelter capacity. We're just going to end up with a glut of copper. But you see the inventories and the LME getting wiped out, and it's really all signs are indicating that there's going to be a big supply shortage, and that's good for the price of copper.
Yeah, and in recent news, President Trump has launched a review of whether to impose a tariff on copper. You have copper projects in the U.S. What are your thoughts on, how potential copper tariffs would affect the mining and exploration sector?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, there's going to be some short-term effects of that. And the short-term effects really are, we're seeing it now, the differential between COMEX and LME pricing. Normally, they work pretty much in lockstep with one another. The arbitrage is not that great between the two exchanges, but right now we're seeing huge differences, and that's because of the speculation on COMEX that's related to the tariff talk. But I think the more important thing is going to be a longer-term effect, and this is a clear signal from the current administration that they're going to support domestic copper production, that they're going to be removing unnecessary roadblocks toward development. The last administration that came in, the first thing that they did was rip up the paperwork that was going to be necessary for a big mine to move ahead that's near our project in Arizona. It would produce 25% of the domestic copper supply when in production, and they ripped up the paperwork for it. The current administration is giving all indications that they're going to do everything to facilitate that moving forward. And so that's really the positive long-term indicator, I think, that's really going to have a big impact on our industry.
Mm-hmm. And with the tariff conversation, this is not just exclusive to copper. There's also, tariffs on steel, aluminum, and counter tariffs, right, with other countries. What impact would it have on your operations in the U.S., and how is your company preparing for these impending tariffs and counter tariffs?
Yeah, well, from an industry perspective, inflation is very real in operations. And, the people used to talk about $3 copper being sort of the tipping point of where a lot of mines would either be profitable or not profitable. The new $3 is $4.50, because they're nitrogen costs more, all the explosives, the fuel prices up, and so on and so forth. The labor's way up. And so you're getting a lot of inflationary pressure on the operations. But in terms of, our operations, we're an exploration company. And I think that, the effects for us will not be as negative.
So maybe this is a good time to talk about some of your projects. Could you maybe go through the projects and what the progress have been in those?
Yeah, we've got two projects. One of them is down in Mexico. It's a silver project, and it's down in the Bonanza Grade Pinaco district. Or Puno, it depends on where you're at, how it's pronounced. But we really do have a Bonanza Grade vein on our property. We're completely surrounded by another company called Vizsla Silver, who's had a great deal of success. And we've got a strong relationship with them. We actually have a technical committee where their technical people sit with our technical people to talk about how to move the exploration forward in the area. And so it's a really productive environment. Right now, though, that project is taking a backseat to Arizona Copper, and that's the Hot Breccia project. Hot Breccia is one of the most exciting exploration plays that I've seen in my entire career. It's really a project that's just begging to be drilled. I'd mentioned earlier Resolution copper, which is a huge deposit, one of the greatest exploration discoveries in the history of our business. And we're only 40 kilometers away from that project. And we think we have a lookalike geologic environment, but a much shallower one. And so we're very excited to get out there and drill that property this year. So that's going to be this year's main focus. Will be getting the funding in place to go ahead and do the drilling down there.
Mhm. So going back to that, like, so with the current administration, you said they're trying to boost domestic production of copper, among many other minerals. Do you anticipate, or are you already seeing, maybe it's too early, like policy changes or anything to that sort of talks to, the improvements to make it easier, I guess, for exploration companies in terms of permitting and everything, and stuff like that, that's being done in terms of policy changes to boost the domestic?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the clear indicators that there's going to be a lot of when the president gets up and says, "Drill, baby, drill." That's a pretty clear indicator that things are going to get better, but we haven't actually seen the policies fall into place yet. But given how quickly things happen with the current administration, I wouldn't expect it'll take too long for things to start to change. And I think the mood has already changed. Sentiment has really changed. People understand that this is a time for resource development and a time for productivity. And I think it's going to be a very exciting 4 years coming up.
Right. So are there any upcoming catalysts that investors should watch out for?
Drilling at Hot Breccia.
Drill, baby, drill.
Yes, our drilling is going to be a very exciting one. I think we're going to have a lot of eyes on us. Every major copper producer in North America is in Arizona. They're all our neighbors there, and I think we're going to have a lot of people watching our progress at Hot Breccia.
Right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Thanks, Steve, for joining me today.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. And thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time for another edition of CEO Insights.